It was a dark and stormy night in the heart of England, the kind of night where the wind howled and the rain lashed against the windows like angry fingers. Inside the old mansion, the fire roared and the candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. But despite the warmth and light, there was a sense of unease that permeated the air. The mansion had a dark history, one that had been whispered about for generations. It was said that a family had once lived there, a family that had been cursed by a vengeful spirit. The spirit had been a maid, mistreated and abused by the family, who had died a horrible death in the mansion. Her spirit was said to still haunt the place, seeking revenge on anyone who dared to enter. But the current owners of the mansion, a wealthy family who had recently moved in, had dismissed these tales as mere superstition. They had laughed off the warnings of the locals and gone ahead with their plans to renovate the place. And yet, as the night wore on, they would come to regret their decision. It started with small things, little noises in the darkness that they couldn't explain. A creaking floorboard, a rustling curtain, a faint whisper in the air. They tried to convince themselves that it was just the wind, or their imaginations playing tricks on them. But as the night wore on, the noises grew louder and more persistent. Then came the apparitions, ghostly figures that flickered in and out of sight, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. They seemed to be watching the family, stalking them with an ominous intent. The family tried to flee, but the doors and windows had all become jammed shut, as if by some unseen force. As the night wore on, the haunting grew more and more intense. The ghostly figures began to take on solid form, their twisted features contorted in anger and hatred. They spoke in voices that echoed through the halls, promising pain and suffering to those who had dared to enter their domain. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, it was over. The sun rose over the horizon, and the mansion was once again peaceful and quiet. But the family who had entered it would never be the same again. They had witnessed something that defied explanation, something that would haunt them for the rest of their days. The mansion, too, remained unchanged. The ghosts still lingered, still waiting for their next victims, and the locals still whispered of the cursed family who had dared to enter the mansion on that dark and stormy night. Some said that their ghosts still haunted the place, trapped forever in a world between the living and the dead. Despite the harrowing experience, the family refused to believe that what they had witnessed was supernatural. They insisted that it must have been a cruel prank or some sort of elaborate hoax, but deep down, they knew that they had been foolish to dismiss the warnings of the locals. Over the following weeks, strange things continued to happen in and around the mansion. Objects would move of their own accord, doors would open and close seemingly at random, and the family would often wake up in the middle of the night to find the ghostly figures standing at the foot of their beds. One night, the family decided to hold a seance, hoping to communicate with the spirits and put an end to their torment. They lit candles and sat in a circle, holding hands and calling out to the ghosts. At first, there was no response, but then a voice began to speak. It was the voice of the maid, the one who had been mistreated and abused by the family all those years ago. She spoke of her suffering, of the pain and humiliation she had endured at their hands. She spoke of her anger and her desire for revenge. The family were horrified by what they heard. They begged for forgiveness, promising to make amends for their past misdeeds. But the maid was not appeased. She demanded that they leave the mansion at once and never return. In the end, the family had no choice but to comply. They packed up their belongings and fled the mansion, never to return. And as they drove away, they could feel the eyes of the ghostly figures following them, their hatred and anger burning bright. Years passed, and the mansion remained abandoned. The locals continued to whisper of the cursed family and the vengeful spirits that haunted the place. Some even claimed that they could still hear the ghostly voices echoing through the halls, promising pain and suffering to those who dared to enter. And so, the mansion stood empty and forgotten, a grim reminder of the past and the dangers that lay beyond the veil of the living. For those who were brave enough to venture inside, the ghosts still waited, hungry for revenge and eager to claim their next victim. Years turned into decades, and the mansion became a place of legend. No one dared to enter its gates, and the once grand building fell into disrepair. The windows were boarded up, The roof leaked, and the gardens had become overgrown with weeds and thorns. But even as the mansion decayed, the spirits within it remained as potent as ever. They continued to haunt the place, seeking out any who dared to approach. And there were always those who were foolish enough to try. One such person was a young couple who had heard of the mansion's dark reputation and decided to investigate. They drove up to the gates in the dead of night, armed with nothing but a flashlight and their curiosity. At first, everything seemed quiet. The mansion loomed in the distance, its windows dark and foreboding. But as they drew closer, they began to hear strange noises, footsteps on the gravel, the creak of a rusty gate. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of them. It was the ghostly form of the maid, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. She beckoned them forward, and the couple found themselves unable to resist. They followed the maid into the mansion, their footsteps echoing through the halls. But as they turned a corner, they found themselves face to face with the rest of the ghosts. There were dozens of them, all staring at the couple with cold, dead eyes. The couple tried to run, but the ghosts were too fast. They surrounded them, trapping them in a circle. The ghosts began to speak, their voices echoing through the halls. They spoke of their pain, their suffering, and their desire for revenge. The couple were terrified, but they knew that they had brought this upon themselves. They begged for forgiveness, promising to leave the mansion and never return. But the ghosts were unforgiving. They demanded that the couple stay in the mansion, trapped there forever as punishment for their intrusion. Days turned into weeks, and the couple remained trapped in the mansion. They were forced to endure the same torment as the cursed family who had entered the mansion years before. They were haunted by the ghosts, tormented by their memories, and plagued by the knowledge that they would never escape. In the end, the couple were never seen again. Some say that they're still trapped in the mansion, their ghosts now haunting the halls alongside the others. And to this day, the mansion remains abandoned, a place of darkness and terror that no one dares to approach. The legends and tales of the mansion only grew more ominous as time went on. People whispered about the ghosts that haunted the place, and some claimed to have seen the spirits wandering through the gardens or staring out from the boarded-up windows. But despite the warnings, there were always those who were drawn to the mansion's dark allure. Some came seeking thrills, eager to test their bravery against the haunted halls. Others came hoping to uncover the truth behind the legends, determined to find evidence of the ghost's existence. One such group was a team of paranormal investigators who arrived at the mansion armed with cameras, EMF detectors, and other tools of the trade. They were determined to uncover the secrets of the mansion, and to prove once and for all whether the legends were true. At first, everything seemed quiet. The mansion was still and silent, as if it were waiting for something to happen. But as the night wore on, the investigators began to hear strange noises, footsteps in the hallway, whispers in the shadows. They set up their cameras and began to explore the mansion, calling out to any spirits that might be listening. And soon enough, they got their answer. The ghosts began to appear, one by one, their ethereal forms floating through the halls. There was the maid, still angry and vengeful after all these years. There were the cursed family, their faces twisted with pain and hatred. And there were countless others, all of them united by their desire for revenge. The investigators tried to remain calm, even as the ghosts closed in around them. They asked questions, hoping to communicate with the spirits and learn more about their past. But the ghosts were not interested in talking. They were there for one reason only, to inflict pain and suffering on those who dared to enter their domain. The investigators soon found themselves trapped in the mansion, their exit blocked by the ghosts. They were forced to endure the same torment as the cursed family, haunted by the ghosts and tormented by their memories. But even as they suffered, the investigators refused to give up. They continued to film and document their experiences, determined to prove to the world that the legends were true. And in the end, they succeeded. Their footage became a viral sensation, sparking a renewed interest in the haunted mansion and the ghosts that called it home. As for the investigators themselves, no one knows what became of them. Some say that they escaped the mansion and went on to become famous paranormal experts. Others say that they were never seen again, their fate forever entwined with the spirits of the cursed mansion. But one thing is certain, their experiences will be remembered for years to come, a testament to the power of the supernatural and the enduring allure of the unknown. In the years that followed, the Haunted Mansion became a popular destination for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. People came from all over the world to explore its cursed halls and experience the terror of its ghosts. But despite the attention, the mansion remained abandoned and decaying. The windows remained boarded up, the gardens remained overgrown, and the spirits within continued to haunt its halls. As the decades passed, the mansion became a symbol of the supernatural, a place where the boundaries between life and death seemed to blur. It became a subject of countless books, movies, and TV shows, each one seeking to capture the essence of its dark and foreboding presence. But no one could truly capture the terror of the mansion, nor could they understand the true power of its ghosts. For the spirits within it were not just angry and vengeful, they were trapped, unable to move on, and forced to endure an eternity of suffering. And so, the Haunted Mansion remained a place of darkness and terror that no one could ever truly understand. Its ghosts continue to haunt its halls, their voices echoing through the darkness, a reminder of the pain and suffering that had led them to this place. And as the years turned into centuries, the mansion remained, a testament to the enduring power of the supernatural and the eternal mystery of life and death. For those who dared to approach its gates, the mansion would always be waiting, ready to reveal its secrets and its horrors to those who were brave enough to seek them out. Despite the many stories and legends surrounding the mansion, there were some who refused to believe in its haunted past. Skeptics dismissed the tales as nothing more than rumors and superstition, unwilling to accept the possibility that there could be anything truly supernatural about the place. But as time went on, even the skeptics began to have their doubts. Strange occurrences and unexplainable events seemed to follow those who visited the mansion, from unexplained noises to strange sightings in the gardens. And then there were the disappearances. Over the years, dozens of people had entered the mansion, never to be seen again. Some claimed that they had simply gotten lost in the maze-like halls, while others believed that they had been taken by the ghosts themselves. Despite the risks, there were always those who were drawn to the mansion's dark allure. Some came seeking adventure, while others were driven by a desire to uncover the truth behind the legends. One such group was a team of explorers who arrived at the mansion with a daring plan. They were determined to explore the deepest and darkest corners of the mansion, to uncover its secrets once and for all. As they entered the mansion, they were met with the familiar feeling of dread and unease that seemed to permeate the air. But they pressed on, determined to complete their mission. As they made their way through the mansion, they encountered strange sights and sounds, shadows moving on their own, whispers in the darkness, and unexplained breezes that seemed to come from nowhere. But it wasn't until they reached the basement that they truly understood the horror of the mansion. For there, in the depths of the mansion, they found something that defied explanation. It was a room hidden away behind a wall of bricks. Inside the room was a collection of artifacts, old books, dusty trinkets, and strange symbols etched into the walls. But the most unsettling thing about the room was the energy that seemed to emanate from it, a dark and malevolent force that seemed to seep into the very bones of those who entered it. The explorers knew that they had stumbled upon something truly dangerous, and they quickly turned to leave. But as they did, they were confronted by the ghosts themselves. The spirits of the mansion rose up around them, their voices echoing through the halls. The explorers tried to run, but they were quickly surrounded, trapped by the ghosts and their terrible power. For hours, they endured the torment of the spirits, haunted by their memories and the pain of their past. And in the end, only one of them made it out alive. The survivor was changed forever by the experience, haunted by the ghosts and the dark energy of the mansion. They spent the rest of their life searching for answers, determined to understand the true nature of the supernatural and the enduring power of the haunted mansion. Years after the tragic event, the survivor penned a book about their experiences, hoping to warn others of the dangers that lurked within the mansion. The book became a bestseller, attracting the attention of paranormal investigators and thrill seekers alike. But despite the warnings, people continued to flock to the mansion, drawn by its dark allure and the promise of supernatural encounters. and as they entered the halls of the mansion, they too were met with the horrors that lay within. The mansion remained a place of terror and mystery, its secrets hidden away behind the boarded-up windows and crumbling walls, and while some dared to enter its halls, most knew to stay away, warned by the stories of those who had entered before them. But even as the years passed, the mansion's hold on the imagination of the public remained strong. It continued to inspire countless stories, films, and TV shows, each one seeking to capture the essence of its dark and foreboding presence. And for those who had survived the mansion's horrors, it remained a constant reminder of the enduring power of the supernatural and the ever-present danger that lurked just beyond the veil of our world.